Welcome, everybody, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I am your host, Brent Daniels, and I am absolutely excited because every single episode that we bring to you, every single podcast that you download, every single video that you watch with the Wholesaling Inc. podcast is all about getting you your first deal or getting you deal after deal after deal and getting you the absolute biggest deals in your marketplace. That's why we go around the country and we find the absolute best of the best wholesalers to not only be interviewed on this podcast, but also to give like step-by-step instructions so that you can implement it into your business today, because this is not about entertainment. This is not about education. This is about instruction. And I am here with one of the absolute biggest and brightest stars out of San Antonio. I'd like to introduce to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, to the Rhino Tribe, Mr. Earon Bevins. Say hello.
What's going on, world? How you doing, Mr. Brent?
Good to have you in here. You are, Earon is in here in the TTP studios here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's exciting. I'm excited to have you in here and let everybody know your story and what I want to get, because I know you're a special kind of dude, right? You're a dude that's you're on social media a lot. You've got a team of people. You're a leader, but you want to provide a ton of value to our industry.
Absolutely.
You just naturally do. Since day one, since our first conversation 4 months ago, you were like, hey, I just want to kill it so that I can help other people kill it.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. That's the goal.
So where does that come from?
You know what? I've always naturally aspired towards teaching and helping other people. When I was little, the neighborhood that we grew up in, wasn't the best, right? But I recall my dad would make us sit or make us stand up in front of all of our toys, and he would force us to read the Bible, upright with our Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hated it. You know what I mean? It was the worst. But I feel like having that upbringing from my dad, it put me in the mindset of education, and not when it comes to higher education. I dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? But when it came to being different and helping others, I feel like that was planted in me at an early age.
I love it. So why do you think he did that? Why did your dad have you read your Bible to your toys? And how old are you? You're like 5, 10? No, I guess 10-year-olds read, right? Or whatever. I don't know.
So probably by 7 or 8, he had us doing this regularly. The Bible was always something that was important in our household growing up.
Sure.
But in addition to that, he wanted us to be different, and then he was a writer growing up. Okay. That's not what he did for occupation, but he was always going to poetry readings. And so one of the things I saw at an early age was the ability of my father to cast a spell on an audience and to be able to capture people's attention. And I remember being 4 or 5 years old and looking in the audience and watching everybody fixated on my dad as he read a poem or he recited something. And I always thought that was pretty cool. But I know that he wanted to instill that in us because communication is key, right? Yep. Like if you can't communicate properly, no matter what you aspire to, it's going to be really difficult for you. So I think he saw the value in that, and so he implanted that in us. And so I think that's where it stems from.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you find real estate?
Ooh, man. So
and by the way, just to set the tone, so you started in this industry, just so that we can grab you right now, so that you can get some credibility if you're listening to this on what Earon's going to be talking about, his process. You've been doing this 16 months, right?
Total.
And you just had your first $100,000 month.
We just did, yes,
right.
sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 16 months, guys, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, he's going to give you the exact steps that he took to get to a 6-figure month in his 16th month. This is bananas. This is crazy.
So I've been in the business 16 months.
Yep.
I hit my first 6-figure month a month or two after joining TTP, so it was actually my 13th month.
Right after a year.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Even better. Even better. So how do you just start us at day one of this journey? How do you find wholesaling property?
Yeah, so I was broke, right? No, I dropped out of high school. I don't have any inherent skills and no official skills. And I was recently married, and I had a slap in the face moment when my wife we had only been married for about 1.5 years or something like that. And she says, hey, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay, let's talk. And she says, I don't like the way I'm starting to feel about you. And I'm like, holy moly, 1.5 years into marriage, as a guy, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I feel like the relationship is great, the energy is good. What are you talking about? Well, my wife has always been an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And, you know, from the time she was 17, 18, she already had a hair salon and it was growing and progressing. She said, I feel like I'm growing and progressing, but at the time I was a painter. Now, I don't want to
like a
house painter, not an artistic painter, okay. Right? I was painting cabinets and stuff, you know. Not and I don't want to paint my wife in a bad picture. She was not being materialistic.
I get it.
Or in any way.
Yeah, I get it.
But she was growing. And this is what she said. I would hate for you to stay in a situation where you could die tomorrow and you could be replaced like that. Mm-hmm. When you have so much more potential for the same amount of time that you're doing this.
That's incredible.
You could be growing as a person. And man, that's one of those moments that, you know, my wife is a small, petite, you know, woman, but it was like, da, 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 you know what I mean? Ryukin, you know what I mean? From Street Fighter.
Yeah, I get it.
and I needed that because it woke me up. And I said, well, I don't have any skills. I don't have any trades. So we found out that there was going to be a seminar coming to a hotel near us called the Legacy Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminar.
Yeah, okay, got it.
And basically it was a pitch on you can do real estate too. And of course they were upselling while they were there. It was a 45-minute presentation, and the guy started talking about how he got a property under contract and then he sold his interest in the property via contract to somebody else for $10,000 and made $10,000 in 2 weeks. And I'm like, holy moly, is this real? Can this really? So he says, for one payment of $500, we'll give you a 2-day course where we'll walk you through how to flip, how to wholesale, how to do a subject to, and all these things. And I was like, we got to do this. So
yeah,
I didn't have any money, by the way. So, you know, I counted checks and I'm like, we may not be able to go out to eat for the next month or so, but I think that this is really important. So my wife supported it, and we paid for that seminar.
Isn't that the crazy? I think that this is interesting because it's a commonality among a lot of high performers, but almost like you almost have to be at rock bottom to really like get going, right? Having that conversation with your wife. Making you feel like, oh man, this is a rough thing to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Having less than $500, which by the way, 68% of America has less than $500 in their checking account, right? Making that $500 was a significant investment. But the beautiful thing is, when you're at that position, you want a return. You want a return on your investment. You are starving. You are hungry. It goes back to, and I love putting it in these terms, and I love if people write this and put it in front of them all the time. It's not that you want to be great at wholesaling or you want to be a great investor. You must. You must get a deal. You, like, this is a must situation. Like, if you don't, I mean, there's no other backup plan. There's no other thing. You know what I mean? You make it a must as opposed to a want. That's the position that like real change happens.
Yeah, and it came from two parts. It came from the practical side that legitimately, if I don't make a deal from this initial investment, I'm not going to have any money. And then the second part of it is I could not stand to go home each day without a paycheck and see the look of disappointment in my wife's eyes. So for me, that was even that is the real driving force, even more than the money itself was that. So yeah, it definitely was a must, man.
So you get into that. So they give you kind of the tools, the idea of what you need to do a deal. Is that right?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I didn't learn anything per se except for that it could happen and it could take place.
Got it.
They did not give me, and I'm not speaking bad about anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
More power to them for doing what they do. Me personally, maybe it's just me being dumb. I did not know what my next step was. I just knew that you could sell a contract, and sell your interest in a property and wholesale it. So we did the whole 2-day course. I think they spent maybe an hour on wholesaling, and they simply went over the concept and a bunch of case studies and a bunch of checks that people have made. And so I was like, okay, cool. So it started on Saturday. We ended Sunday evening. I go home. I don't know what my next step is. So YouTube. I go to YouTube and Google, and there were only a handful of people that were actually doing it. But I found Wholesaling Inc. And I started following some of their content and some of the instructional steps on what to do next. Yeah. And finally, so they had talked about letters, right? Sending out mailers. Yep. Right. And I didn't have any money, man. I had spent all my money on the initial investment, the $500. So I had no money. So I didn't have any budget. So what I did was we hand wrote letters for a while, and then whenever we could save up a couple $100, we literally invested a couple $100 into mailers, and we finally got a call back that I followed up on that lead. And long story short, made $750. All right. The contract and the paperwork was so messed up. That the buyer, he went back and contracted it himself. I wouldn't advise for anybody to let that happen. But he asked me if he could do that. And I said, sure. He said, I'll pay you outside of closing. I wouldn't recommend anybody to do that. But I was new and I was hungry. And I made $750. And I made it cash. The guy just gave me $750 cash, and he probably screwed me out of my mind. Oh, for sure, for sure. He probably screwed me so bad, but in my heart, I was like, "This works, man. This is real." You know what I mean? So it was just. I felt like Goku powering up and just Super Saiyan, and that was the beginning. That was a little over 16 months ago. Yeah.
Well, once that becomes a fact that you can make money, you can make income from your efforts, from literally finding real estate opportunities, everything changes. Yep. Because now it's not just you believe or a faith type thing. This is a fact that you can do it. Yep. So I don't care if it's $100. I don't care if it's $750. I don't care if it's $100,000. You know what I mean? It's just that first step, that first check you get that's like real, and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I can do this. I can do this again and again and again and again. And it gets you through that tough period when your optimism is wearing low, when your enthusiasm's wearing low, when your energy's wearing low because you've got other responsibilities like kids and a wife and a other job and pay bills and all these other things that you got going on. When all of that is low and you get that shot from just one thing that closed and you made money on, all of a sudden it changes everything. Yep. It really does change everything. And that's why I love this podcast. That's why I love the YouTube channel. If you guys are interested, if you're listening to this and you're interested in watching this, go to Brent Daniels Real Estate on YouTube, and you can see us on here. But it's incredible because people are using this. People are going to YouTube. People are going to the podcast. They're listening to these. They're understanding what you're going through. They're going through it right now. Yeah. I went through it. I was in so much debt. It was silly. You know what I mean? You're in that position mentally where you're like, I know. You still have that pilot light that says, I know that I am a winner. I know that your wife knew that you were a winner, right? She wanted more out of you, right? And she pulled it out, and God bless. I mean, you married a wonderful woman. But it you have that pilot light inside you that's just like, I can do this. I know I can succeed. I know I can be successful. And you just keep feeding it, keep feeding it, keep feeding it, keep feeding it. And then you bust through, and then all of a sudden you're off and running. 13 months later, you're at a 6-figure a month business. Bananas. Bananas.
It's been an exciting journey, man.
So you got that first deal. Now you're chugging along, right? How long did it take you to stop? Did you stop painting right off the bat, or did you stop painting after a couple more deals? Where did that go?
So there was a little bit of a transitionary period because I was in a little suburb of Chicago called Bolingbrook. And so that's when I stopped painting a few months after that conversation. I got into sales. I was actually doing mobile home sales 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, almost similar to a car salesman.
Sure.
Brutal
hours.
Oh, yeah. So from that seminar, learning about wholesaling, to actually doing my first deal, there was about a 5-month gap. So when I say I've been in the business for 16 months, I'm talking from my first deal.
Got it.
You know what
totally
I mean?
Get it. Yep.
So start doing mobile home sales and do my first deal. I'm currently building my wholesaling pipeline while I'm doing my mobile home sales in my little office. You know what I mean? So I get a couple other deals under my belt, and I build up a little war chest of cash. I have about $6,000 or $7,000. Now, up to this point, I've been following Wholesaling Inc., but I did not pull the trigger on it yet.
Right. Yeah.
And in the meantime and in between time, I spent 5 G's on another education course, which helped me. That left me with about $2,000 in my bank for marketing. So what I said was, look, I got about $7,000 in my bank. I've already made a solid amount of money while I'm working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I believe in myself, man. Like, what if I quit this job right now, invest this money, and go full time? What could I do in three to 6 months? And so that's what I did. I gave him the courtesy of a 2-week notice, but it's a sales position, and these guys were shady. So, and I had a sexy pipeline that was going to be coming in. So they said, no worries, go ahead and turn in your key today. You're done. So I wanted to cash out on that and make some more money, but they said, no, you're done, which put my back against the wall again. All I had was this little 7 G's in my account.
Yeah, but now you have experience.
Now I have more experience,
Yep.
exactly, and a proof of concept that's been validated 4 or 5 times. So I dumped that money into the education and my marketing, and within about 30 days, I closed my first deal full time, and that was $28,000.
Yeah.
And then the following one was a $14,000 deal, and then another $30,000 deal with Annalise, who you just met right now.
Yep.
So within the first 3 months, I had more money come in than I had ever experienced. You know what I mean?
It's incredible.
Yeah, and so then we just took that.
I mean,
and
tell
started
everybody,
dumping it.
is this not a cash machine?
It absolutely is a cash machine. Insanely so. I've personally never experienced anything like that.
This is what happens, and this is crazy. People come into TTP program, come into wholesaling, whatever. Watch these videos. They come in with a small amount of money, right, in their savings that they're making. They get $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, whatever it is, and then I talk to them 6 months, 8 months, a year later, and they go, "Oh, I only made $9,500 on this deal. I'm so disappointed." It's crazy, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
I'm like, 9,500, that's great. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure there's massive deals, and I want to encourage everybody to get massive deals, but it's crazy how quick you can change. Your mind can change once you start succeeding in these big ways. Once you start seeing these big checks, once they start getting into your account, once you start paying off debts that you never thought you could pay off in years, once you start putting a down payment on properties or assets or investments or buying a house or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's the most incredible business of all time, in my opinion, and I just love it, and I love your enthusiasm for it as well. So then you go full, and I think it's really important to note this: you kept a job while you kept income coming in while you're building up your experience.
Absolutely.
And I love that, because I think it's really important that you can do deals on your lunch break. You can do deals on the weekend. You can do deals after work. You can do deals when you have time off. We work with a lot of people. A lot of people in the TTP family are active military.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they're firefighters or some. You know what I mean? They have crazy schedules, but then when they're off, they're rocking and rolling.
Yep.
So you can continue to do it till you get to the point where you make the choice to do this full time based on actual results, not just hope.
Yep.
Because people get trapped sometimes and they go, you know what, I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to just go on a hope and a prayer, and then they're back at their job. wholesaling didn't work for them, finding deals didn't work for them, and now they have to start all over again or they're out of it.
Yeah, it got to the point where I had done enough deals to know the basics of the process. I was by no means an expert. I still don't consider myself an expert. But I figured to myself, if I can do this much while I'm working so part-time on my wholesaling business, what could I do if I was full-time?
Yep.
You know, and even with the little bit of money that I had, I could be resourceful and put in more effort. And I knew I had enough street smarts to know that if I put in more effort in other tedious ways, I could be resourceful and make deals come out with no marketing money. You know, so that's definitely what happened.
So right now, to get to 6 figures a month, you what are your marketing channels?
I have 3 marketing channels that we stick to, and it's just because they're inexpensive.
Yeah.
And they work. They work so good for us.
Okay.
They work so good for us, which is cold calling. That's our bread and butter.
That's right.
Yes, sir. TTP. Text message blasting.
Yep.
That's our secondary, and then we supplement with ringless voicemails.
And you have a massive deal that you did.
I do.
Let's get everybody excited because you've done something that you started off, your first deal is $750, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about a deal that you did that was a little bit more than that, okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm excited for you to ring this bell.
Okay.
So let's break it down.
Yeah. So this deal came from the high equity list. This deal actually came from after I joined the TTP group. We got some discounts. We went to List Source. We pulled some high equity leads.
Yep.
And these were absentee owner high equity leads.
Okay.
And
just to help everybody out real quick, and if you need to get it, just to help everybody out real quick. So high equity leads in List Source, they have a really good tool that you can pull people, and they estimate how much equity they have based on what they think they owe, what they think the value of the property's worth. So you can get it from 100% equity to 70 to 30 to 50. So where were you at? 30% and more equity? 50% or more?
I want to say this was 40% or more.
So 40% or more equity. Equity just means that if the house is worth $100,000, they would only owe $60,000. So $40,000 of that would be their equity, what they have, the owners, if you're not familiar with the terms.
Minimum.
Right. Right, minimum.
Yeah.
And up from there. So it's going to give people that have them own free and clear and everything. These are what you want to go after because these are people that, have the opportunity to sell at a discount. They don't owe more than it's worth, right? And absentee just means that it was a rental for them, or it's vacant, or they don't live in that property.
Yep.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So that was the list that we targeted. This particular list, we were doing ringless voicemails. And so the way we have it set up is...
So wait, you get this list. I want to break this down.
Let's do it.
How do you get the phone numbers?
Batch skip tracing.
Okay, so you go to batch skip tracing. So that's batchskiptracing.com. Use TTP as the code. You get a discount. And you upload an Excel file to them that you got from List Source.
Yep.
They send back with the phone numbers attached to those addresses.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do you do with that list? What do you do with that Excel file?
Yeah, so we take that Excel file that has all of the numbers for each one of these leads that we've skip traced, and then we uploaded it. Now, I personally use Sly Broadcast.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So uploaded the list to Sly Broadcast, and then we immediately blasted out the Ringless voicemail campaign. So for those of you that don't know, it just basically means you send a voicemail to people without ringing their phone.
Right. You pick up your phone, you look at it, you're like, oh, it's a voicemail. I must have been in a weird service area. It didn't even ring. I didn't even hear it.
Exactly. Okay. And our message says something like, hey, this is Earon. We were just calling to see if you had any property you're interested in selling. If so, feel free to call us back whenever you get a chance. Our number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So you go straight, just generic.
Very generic.
You don't go, hey, we're calling about your house in San Antonio, or your house in...
And the reason why we don't do that with ringless voicemails, Brent, is because the person who's designated to answer all these incoming calls from the ringless voicemail campaign, when the person says, hey, you were calling about my property, how much are you offering? This person doesn't even know what property they're calling about.
Yeah.
So if we make it generic, we can refer back to the voicemail and say, well, we were just calling to see if you have any property you're interested in selling. So Mr. Seller, I don't know if you have any property.
Love it.
Do you have any you're interested in selling?
Yep.
And so this particular day, it was interesting. The person who was supposed to be handling these incoming calls wasn't available, so it came directly to me. And the person, this was the basic story. And this is a fun situation. The gentleman was a retired dentist.
Yep.
He owned this commercial property. Now the property that we had initially uploaded into the spreadsheet that was attached to his name, he had already sold it. But we train everybody on our team before.
This is beautiful. Listen, guys, listen to this. This is key.
Before you get off the phone with a person, you always ask, do you happen to have any other property you're interested in selling?
That's it.
And we've actually made a lot of money asking that question.
A lot of money. Yep.
So he says...
That's how you get, that's the classic, it's like a great like clickbait type of thing. How to get a yes out of every no, right? You know, something like that. But I mean, it really is how you get a yes out of a no. No, I don't want to sell that house that we had that was in the list that you had called or that you had left a voicemail about. But...
he has another property.
That's it.
So he says, yeah, I have another one, but you probably won't want it. It's a commercial property and it's a dump. I said, well, and sure enough, we've never done a commercial deal.
Sure.
But we said, well, we'd like to take a look at it. And the fact that he says it's a dump, my heart's racing. I'm like, I'm excited. This may be something exciting. So we set up an appointment right then and there. And for the following day, we go walk the property. It's a commercial property. I don't know anything about commercial property.
Right.
I'm not a realtor. I'm not a bro. I have no experience. You know what I mean? All I know is that the guy said it was a dump, so this must be an opportunity.
Yep.
We walk the property. It's a 2-story commercial dentist office. The gentleman's story was that he retired from dentistry. He is 70-something years old. He's already made his millions because in addition to his own dentist practice, he has this commercial property and it has a bunch of dentist suites that he rented out to other practitioners.
Sure.
So this was the issue because prior to going there, we looked up on the appraisal district, the property tax appraised for about $400K. Here's the issue though. The foundation was completely rocked. The roof was leaking. And so he knows that no commercial loan is going to be given out on this deal.
He has to sell it for cash.
You got to sell it for cash.
Yep.
So even though it's appraised for $400K, he knows it's not going to be anywhere near that. So I don't know what to offer on this thing, man. So I just do, I do 65 cents on the dollar because I want to shoot super, super low. So I take the $400K, I do 64 cents on the dollar, and then I just took a whole bunch of money out of it, and I said, we can offer 104. Now, by the way, this is after building the rapport with them, talking with them. We had walked the property for about 45 minutes to an hour just talking with them before we even started talking numbers. Finally, we get into numbers and we asked them, what do you need? What do you need in order to make this deal work? Because we're interested. And he says, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. But I do know that it needs a whole lot of work and there's nobody that's going to be able to get a loan on it. So I know that it's got to be cash. So my heart's like racing. My palms are sweaty. I'm like sweating. My armpits are sweating out my deodorant, And so I said, what if we could offer $140,000 cash? Is that something that you might be interested in? And he had somebody else that was courting him on this deal.
Of course.
And that person was actually another broker. So automatically that person had more credibility than me. I'm just coming in as some guy saying I'm going to buy your house cash. And so this person had more credibility, and sure enough, they were offering more. Now, he told me, I want your highest and best offer. I'm not going to do a bid war. I'm not interested in that. I just want to be one and done with this property. Give me your highest and best. I'm comparing it to their highest and best. Whoever the highest and best is, I'm going with them. I'm not even going to come back and give you an opportunity. So I want your highest and best right now. So it kind of puts you in a pickle, right? It's like there's no negotiation here. So I'm like, all right, what am I have to offer something that doesn't insult him, but at the same time allows me to make money.
Right.
So I said 140. That's the offer. And so sure enough, the other broker had offered significantly higher. And so he calls back and he preps the call by saying, I am not going to accept another offer. I told you I wasn't going to play around and BS with you. I'm accepting the other offer. They accepted more. And I was like, will you allow me to bid against them? And he was like, nope, I don't want to do that. This guy's made his millions, right? He just wants to be one and done. So before he gets off the phone, I said, Mr. Seller, could you do me a favor? And he says, what's that? I says, if this person doesn't close, would you do me the courtesy of calling me back right away because I'm very interested? Because I'm heartbroken. I'm like, man, I feel like this could have been a good deal, you know?
Oh, that's the worst.
So he says, sure, why not? You know, I like your energy and you're very respectful and sure, I'll definitely do that. So we lost the deal. A month goes by, 2 months goes by. On the third month, he calls back out of nowhere. I didn't even recognize the name whenever it called back, and he reminded me who he is. He talked about the property, and he says the person backed out, and my heart's like racing. I'm like, no way. So I'm like trying to keep my composure. And I said, oh, okay, Mr. Such and Such, what how would you like to move forward? Because I'm still interested. And he says, well, does your offer still stand at 140? I said, absolutely it does. So he says, well, I'm ready to go. That same day, I dot looped him, the which is electronic signature.
Yeah.
Sent that over to
email signature.
Email signature. Yeah. He signed it within an hour.
Yep.
We had it over. Now here's the mistake I did make though. We sent it over to title. They started clearing title right away. I know, Brent, I could have made way more money. The first person I shopped the deal out to, they said, I want it now. I want it. They said, I don't need to see it. I want it.
Oh, man.
Now they did go out to see it, but they told us, don't show this to anybody.
Right.
I want it. And there's somebody that we've done a lot of business with up to this point. So I felt kind of an emotional.
I get it.
You know, I felt like I had to honor it because I was so excited that I said, okay. And they walked it and contracted it. I think, if I'm being conservative, 48 days afterward, we closed 13 days after contracting that property.
So he called you. See, this is the beautiful thing about people that are older and they're successful and they've got a rundown property. This is what I love about it, and this has been my experience. One, they're realistic. Two, if they take an offer and that offer backs out, they will honor your offer. If you built enough of a relationship, they'll come back to you, and most of the time they're coming back at the number that you gave them. It's not even about the money. It's about get the job done.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so you were there, and it just you did enough to build that relationship. You gave him the number. You must have been certain and likable with that number because he called you back. And that's the thing. If a deal falls out, follow up. Follow up to see what's going on. You didn't even have to. He followed up with you. You were off in a million different directions doing other deals. So you got it for 140. What'd you sell it for?
Sold it for $215.
215. 250. So what'd you net on that?
75 G's.
Oh man, come on, man. Ring that bell.
Come on.
Yeah. I love it.
I've been waiting for that.
I love it. Well, I mean, and that's it. And so imagine this. It's whatever day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon. You get this call from the guy. An hour later after that call, he signs a contract. 13 days, not even 2 weeks later, you have $75,000 wired into your account.
Yes, sir. It was. We ended up double closing that one, and we got a hookup from our title company, so it ended up being like 74.
Sure.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
Oh man, I was.
How'd that feel coming from a guy that was painting houses a year before? 16 months before.
So the best way I can describe it to those who are new and just learning. So what you imagine that would feel like times 100. Times 100.
I got goosebumps the first time I got like a $40,000 check. I was like, my eyes were tearing up. I was in my kitchen with my wife. Like, I didn't know. I was like all nervous. I was like, can I do this again? Did I make too much money? What's going on? Like all these, like literally the chemicals in your brain change.
Oh yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Now, do you doubt that you could do it again?
No, not at all.
Do you now think that you could do a $100,000 deal?
So it's funny you say that because we have team meetings now, and I feel like we've had certain levels of certainty in regards to how we've negotiated for deals.
Yep.
Because when we first started, we didn't know. We lucked on some really big deals, and I think that helped us with our identity.
Of course.
And what we believe was possible. But I found that as we've grown in the business, our level of certainty for how we negotiate has changed. And that's one of the things that I try to instill into those on our team, which is don't be afraid to anchor, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 of profit, because you have no idea what if the person's going to say yes or not.
Yep.
So that it's definitely helped us,
So speak to somebody that give some advice. Just over the last, I don't care if they're new, if they've been in this forever, if they've done 1,000 deals, if they've done no deals. Just give kind of like a couple of thoughts on what you feel you need to do to be successful in this business.
Yeah. So everybody talks about taking action, taking massive action, and the reason why everybody talks about that is because it's necessary, right? Without that, the business is dead. You got to breathe life into your business through action, through consistent action, through massive action. But if there's anything that I can say, it's we've had, and I'm just a rookie in this game. I'm just a baby in this game, but I'm proud of the success.
A little bit more than that, but.
But I'm proud of the success we've had thus far. Even now, I have feelings of uncertainty. And can I continue to bring in this amount of money?
Yep.
Will this dry up? Those feelings come up into my head and heart, and I constantly have to slay them and suppress them and push them to the side and drown them with continued action. So if you're new, just know it's freaking possible, right? You got to keep taking the action. When those feelings of uncertainty come up, just know that most of us still have those feelings, and they're probably not 100% gonna go away.
Right.
Yeah. But you just gotta drown them out. And I think the reason why that's resonating so deeply in my mind right now is because on the flight to Phoenix today, I just wrapped up for the second time, for the third time actually, Think and Grow Rich. And in his concluding thoughts, Napoleon Hill says that the successful people are not people with no negative thoughts. They're the ones who drown out negative thoughts through consistent and persistent action.
Love it.
And so that's the advice that I would give. I'm just going to borrow from Napoleon Hill.
Dude, that is perfect. I absolutely love it. That was perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man. Hey, listen, this has been incredible. There's been a lot going on in this conversation, so definitely make sure you listen to it again. How do people reach out to you if they want to whatever, anybody listening or watching this, how do they reach out to you?
We drop a lot of content on Facebook, a lot of lives and videos patterned in.
You have a podcast?
A podcast. Oh, in fact, Brent, you were on the podcast. Brent was on the podcast. It was an absolute killer podcast, talking about the mindset of an entrepreneur and being successful in this business and where you came from and your rock bottom moment and where you came from that. We do a podcast every Tuesday.
What's it called?
It's called Real Estate of Mind.
Okay.
The Real Estate of Mind podcast. And
is that on like iTunes?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. It's not on.
So they can find you on Facebook.
Facebook. Yep, it's on the Facebook feed. And you can go to Earon Bevans on Facebook.
Spell it.
Earon, Earon. Bevans is Bevans.
Yep.
We love to do JV deals with people in the greater San Antonio land area and in Texas. And definitely reach out to us. I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to reach out and make something happen.
Love it. Guys, definitely reach out. This is a rising star. This is a superstar here. Definitely get a part of that. If he has any opportunity to work with him in his company as he grows, get in his ear, get that experience from somebody, because he is going only one place, and that is up, up, up. He is just an incredible human being and an incredible entrepreneur. So He's very serious about this, and he takes action every single day. If you are ready to join the most proactive group in real estate investing, then you got to go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. This is the group that Earon told you that he's a part of.
Yep.
This is the group that I coach personally. It's the absolute best group in real estate investing. Time and time and time again. Check out that page. You're going to see a lot of testimonials. You're going to see what that program is all about. I'd love to work with you personally, but
can I say one last thing,
yes.
Brent? The TTP course has not only helped me, and this is not scripted, by the way. I gotta say this because this is an honor to be here, and I gotta show how appreciative I am. Not only has the TTP course helped me, for every new hire I bring onto my business, I have them go through your course. Yeah. I feel bad that I'm not paying you residually.
No, that's the point. That's the whole point.
I have all of my new acquisitions, cold callers, whether they're in the Philippines or they're local, because we have both. I have them go through the TTP course as well, because that's how rich the guidance is. So I'm indebted to you, and I really appreciate you for that.
You take all the action. You do all the whole hard work. I mean, it's all on you, but I'm just the guide. I'm just the guide. So anyway, wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check it out. You guys are the absolute best. Earon, thanks for being on the show. And until next time, guys, as always, I encourage you to go out there and talk to people. See ya.